The most painful thing that can happen to a person is to lose someone they love in front of their very eyes. If this happens in a war zone, then it becomes even more terrible. Our story begins in a war-torn town somewhere in the world. It had been under siege for a long time. Homes were burnt and destroyed, streets were torn up. No one knows how many civilians have died in this hellhole. Our protagonist, meanwhile, is a young woman named Sarah. She had a loving family and a good job. However, when the war broke out, she had to flee her home with her young son. They'd been wandering around for quite some time already. Sarah was exhausted both physically and mentally. All she wanted was to find shelter and maybe some food. Just as Sarah was about to lose hope, she heard some voices in the distance. Maybe these were people like her who were also trying to survive. So Sarah gathered all her strength and decided to go towards the sounds. When she got closer, she realized that those were the voices of soldiers. Then she saw them. There were only two of them, but they seemed very kind. Plus, they were leaving. So Sarah decided to follow them. Maybe they could take her and her son in. Sarah began following the soldiers from a distance. She stayed low so as not to be noticed. After walking for about 10 minutes, the soldiers stopped near a house. They talked for a bit, and then one of them went inside and the other stayed outside. Sarah decided to wait a bit and see what happened. When the soldier outside noticed Sarah, he called another soldier over and they both looked at the woman with the child. Sarah was very nervous, but still decided to approach them. When she got closer, the soldier said, "Don't be afraid, we won't hurt you." Sarah replied, "I'm grateful to you for everything you do for me. I don't know how to thank you. I'm ready for anything." "We want to help you because you look like you need it," the soldier said, "but we don't have enough food here. We can give you some, but that's all. Thank you so much." "I'll be grateful to you forever," Sarah said, and she really meant it. After talking for a few more minutes, Sarah and her son were invited into the house. She thanked the soldiers again and again. The soldier who had gone inside the house came back and said, "Look, there's enough food here for everyone. And if you want, you can stay here as long as you want. Really, you're such a lifesaver. Thank you so much. How can I ever repay you? You don't have to repay us. We're just glad we could help you," the soldier said. When Sarah entered the room, she saw a big pot on the table with some delicious food inside. There was also some water in cups. The woman was so tired that she didn't even have the strength to ask what was inside the pot. She sat down and closed her eyes for a moment, and then the first words she heard were, "It's goulash. Do you like it?" Sarah opened her eyes and saw a kind-looking woman standing in front of her. "Yes, I love goulash," Sarah replied, and she ate the soup in large mouthfuls. She was so hungry that she finished her portion in no time. After eating, Sarah finally felt a bit better. She washed herself a little and then lay down to rest. At that moment, she was very grateful to the soldier for saving her and her son. Time passed quickly. Sarah and her son spent several days at the house, eating and sleeping. Moreover, Sarah helped the women around the house. It was amazing. Finally, it seemed that life was getting better. However, suddenly, the calm life was shattered by gunfire. Sarah immediately realized that the shooting was coming from outside. She hid under the table with her son. The shooting lasted only a few minutes, after which everything became quiet again. But Sarah was still scared. She hugged her son tightly. Then the door opened and the same soldier who had brought them to the house came in. He was all covered in blood and obviously in a panic. "Quick, grab whatever you can and let's get out of here," the soldier shouted. "What's happening?" Sarah asked. "There's an attack. They're killing everyone here. Grab your things and run," the soldier yelled, pushing Sarah towards the door. The woman took her son and ran out into the street. When they got outside, Sarah realized that there was a whole detachment of soldiers outside the house. They were shooting at everything that moved. People were running and screaming in panic. Some were hiding behind cars, while others were trying to flee the town. Sarah found her way to an old building and hid in the doorway. She was shaking all over and couldn't stop crying. Her son was scared too and kept asking, "Mommy, what's going on? Why are they shooting?" Sarah didn't know what to say. She picked her son up and hugged him tightly. She didn't want to admit it, that she was afraid they wouldn't make it. As it turned out later, the detachment of soldiers who attacked the town belonged to the enemy army. They were mercilessly killing all the townspeople. Sarah and her son managed to hide in the building until nightfall. Then they ventured out into the street again. As soon as the sun set, the shelling stopped. When Sarah and her son left the building, they saw a horrific picture. The streets were littered with corpses, houses were on fire, and the few surviving townspeople were hastily trying to flee. Our heroes were no exception. They walked along the street, not knowing where to go. Suddenly, Sarah heard a familiar bark. She looked up and saw a dog running towards her. It was a German shepherd. Sarah knew this dog. It belonged to the soldier who had saved them. At that moment, Sarah felt a sharp pain in her chest. She realized that the dog was running towards her because its owner was dead. The soldier must have been killed during the attack. Sarah was so overwhelmed with emotion that she sank to her knees. At that moment, she felt like she couldn't catch her breath. When the dog got close enough, it barked loudly at Sarah. The woman understood that the dog needed something. Looking around, she saw a military truck nearby. Apparently, the soldier had been in this very truck. Sarah approached it cautiously and saw a faint glow in the back. Then she heard a voice. It was the soldier who had saved them. He was alive. "Help," he whispered. Sarah screamed and ran to the truck. She opened the back door and saw a wounded soldier sitting inside. Next to him was the dog she had seen earlier. The dog licked the soldier's face and barked insistently at Sarah, as if telling her to hurry up. "He needs my help," Sarah said, realizing what the dog wanted from her. The woman immediately began to pull the soldier out of the truck. He was seriously wounded and had lost a lot of blood. Sarah felt his pulse. It was weak, but still there. The woman quickly bandaged the soldier's wounds and gave him water to drink. But the bullet had hit a major artery, and there was nothing Sarah could do to save him. Soon, the soldier's eyes lost their luster, and his breathing became weaker and weaker. Sarah laid the soldier down on the grass and covered him with her jacket. When she turned to leave, she heard the dog whimpering nearby. The poor animal was licking the soldier's face, not wanting to believe he was dead. Then Sarah did the only right thing. She stroked the dog and stayed with it until morning.